7:38, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Want to welcome on into the program journalist, commentator, author Bill O'Reilly joining us. And it's always a pleasure and an honor to speak to you, sir. How are you this morning?
Good, Dan. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it.
I got to tell, I love having you back because, you know, your books, the Killing franchise is just incredible. And your latest book is Killing the Witches. And it's the story of the Salem witch trials. And I got to tell you that the way that you weave this together into modern times is just incredible. So it is the story of the Salem witch trials. And I think most folks know the surface, the headline, the Salem witch trials. It's in Massachusetts, girls exhibiting strange behaviors that led to innocent people being killed. And Bill, you start out the book, the prologue, with the story of a mother accused of being a witch and being burned at the stake. And what I thought was particularly chilling was how you make the point to say that the crowd watching this horrific scene was also captivated by all of this. And so you tell the story in this book, Killing the Witches. You tell the story in the book of the victims here as well. Talk a little bit about the book, Killing the Witches.
Okay. I wrote the book because the witch hunt is back. And the last part of Killing the Witches is modern times. And the cancel culture that we have here is the same thing that happened in Salem. Because all accusations are convictions. Now, nobody's getting hanged, but lives are being ruined in America by this cancel culture. So that's why I wrote the book. And what I wanted to do was kind of step along from the Mayflower, and Dan, you and I would not want to have been on that boat. That was a horrendous journey coming over, and most Americans say, Pilgrims, Mayflower, past the stuffing. No, harrowing. And then when they get here, the 100 Puritans that were essentially booted out of England, half of them die. And the other half are at each other's throats, and it just devolves into hysteria, and that leads directly to people who did believe in witches and ghosts and the devil, and their religion was based on this, that Satan is always trying to get you. And then it led to hysteria when young girls, 9, 10, 11, started accusing adults of being witches. And just the accusation could put a rope around your neck. It's so harrowing. So there are so many things. You mentioned the witch burning, and we open in Scotland where this totally innocent woman, a landowner, gets burned at the stake, and everybody in Edinburgh goes up to watch it, and this was entertainment.
Yeah.
Because they believe that she was a witch. What's a witch? A witch is somebody who is possessed by the devil, in concert with the devil, doing the devil's work. And then, again, I bring it to modern times with the exorcist phenomenon. We all witnessed by the book and the movie, and we tell the real story about that. So there's a lot of different things going on in this book, but essentially it comes down to if the United States throws out due process and accusations become convictions, we lose our country, just as the Puritans lost everything after the Salem witch trials.
And, you know, just to keep tying all of this together, you're right with cancel culture, and you do talk about this in the book. You do have people where just on social media, and oftentimes the media backs them up, where people's lives are destroyed with just an accusation. Going back to the Salem witch trials, you had people who were hung, burned at the stake, and so forth. And there really was no evidence at all. It was just the accusation. And right. I think it's horrifying. Were there any people at the time when this was going on that were the sounds of the voices of reason and sanity in all of this?
No. There were good people. And first of all, they did not burn any witches in America. Everybody was hanged. And that's because the King of England, and remember, the king ran the New World, he deemed witchcraft to be a crime against the crown. Whereas in Europe and in Scotland, where they did burn witches, thousands of witches were burned, and Joan of Arc being the most famous. The crime of witchcraft was heresy, a religious crime. So, it's a difference. We explain it. There were good people in Salem, but if you stood up against these insane clerics, these ministers, the next day you were accused of being a witch.
And Bill, that is happening today.
Dan, you and I, great minds think alike, right? Just as today, you stand up against this progressive left, all right, they're going to call you a bigot, a racist, whatever they want to call you, and try to demonize you and destroy your life. It's exactly the same thing going on. Trump uses the word witch hunt every day. I ran into one of his guys last week. I said, can you ask the president when he's going to say witch hunt just to hold up my book cover, Killing the Witches? It would be good publicity for me, and he'll get the point across.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask this. Ann Putnam was one of the girls, really the main instigator in your book. You talk about her. She was one of the main instigators in all of this. And later on, she admitted that she lied about all of this. And all these people were put to death because of her. Did anything happen to Ann Putnam? Yeah,
I mean, all these girls, they weren't formally charged with crimes by the Massachusetts Bay Colony. They should have been, but they weren't. But their lives were wreckage. And you can't do that even if you're 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. When you grow into adulthood, you know what you did. And some of them were in denial, blah, 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 blah. But none of them prospered. And that's a good lesson for everybody to learn. You embrace evil, you destroy somebody, it's going to come back at you.
One of the things, as I'm listening to you speak, what came first? Did you realize the similarities between, cancel culture today and the Salem witch trials? Did you realize the similarities as you were writing the book, or you realized the similarities so you decided to write the book?
Before, because I saw very early on how the progressive left was using the same kind of tactics that were used in Salem in 1692. And that's my job, because I combine being a historian with being a journalist. That's why we're very successful here at BillO'Reilly.com. It's the most successful independent news agency in the world. And because I can bring a perspective to Joe Biden, to Donald Trump, to a historical perspective, I can bring it in. That's what I'm doing now, analyzing Israel and Hamas. I'm giving you a much wider picture than just a terror attack. So I knew when I saw this stuff, and I saw the media, the corrupt corporate media, actually pushing this cancel culture. They push it. They love it. I went, whoa, this is really going to be horrendous. And that was 8 years ago. This cancel culture has been in place for about 8 years.
Yeah.
And there's no fight back. There's no pushback because people are afraid. They don't want to be targets themselves.
Bill, do you see, you're talking about your perspective, do you see this cancel culture finally going away at some point? Will there be an episode so horrendous that maybe there will be, maybe a slap back on this whole cancel culture, or is it here to stay?
I don't know, because the media and the internet feed into the cancel culture, particularly the internet, where you have these, character assassins and anonymously just brutalizing people. There could be, with strong leadership, to make a issue out of it. I mean, one of the things that we do in the back half of Killing the Witches is we give you actual human beings, people, innocent people's lives were destroyed. 25-year-old teacher in Northern Virginia. Student makes an accusation against her. She's fired. She's humiliated. She can't come out of the house. 2 weeks later, charges are dropped because there was no backup for it. But her life's a wreck. She sued and won, but still to this day. So we give you a bunch of real examples, but there doesn't seem to be any crusader, any powerful person in this country willing to take on the far-left progressive movement, and that's because the corporate media is sympathetic to that movement. and it's hard to get your word out. So it will take a very strong leader. Maybe the next president, whoever it is, would take this on. They should. And that's another reason why I wrote Killing the Witches, so people realize how bad this is.
All right, Bill. So every time I have you on, I always ask the same question, which is, what's next? Because, you have so many different killing books. I mean, you've got Killing the Mob, Killing the Killers, Killing Patton, Killing Reagan, which was one of my favorites. I'm going to ask you which one is next, and you're not going to tell me, right?
No, I am going to tell you. The Killing the Witches is the 13th in the series. And the reason I don't say what the next title is because somebody will steal it.
Yep.
I was on Amazon the other day, and there's a Killing Kennedy out. I wrote Killing Kennedy. Some guy just ripped off the title. They can do that.
They can do that?
I know. It's insane. And to take them to court and all that, it wouldn't be worth. Nobody's going to buy the stupid book. But that's why I don't like to publicize. But this is the 13th Killing book, most successful nonfiction book series of all time on this planet. But next September, we're going to have a book on every president called Confronting the Presidents. We're going from killing to confronting. And I'm writing it because of the 2024 presidential election. And the book is about who these guys really were. There were some scoundrels.
Oh, yes.
So that's the next one. Now, after that, I don't know how long I'm going to be on the planet here. I'm an old guy now.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I'm going to be doing. But we're halfway through Confronting the Presidents. And where do you see this? Oh, my God.
Bill, let me ask you, and, you mentioned don't know how long you're going to be on the planet. You will leave an incredible legacy with your broadcasting and, writing of the books and so forth and your commentating. Let me ask you this question. Do you get more satisfaction out of writing or, BillO'Reilly.com and, giving your perspective on the news of the day, the journalistic aspects of your career? What gives Bill O'Reilly the most satisfaction?
We are able to help people now because of my recognition. Okay, everybody knows me. When I was in England last week, the train conductor was going, "Oh, O'Reilly, what do you?" And I go, "How do you know?" YouTube. Everybody's watching the No Spin News, my TV broadcast, on YouTube all over the world. It's insane. We set up a program, Dan, and thank you for asking. Concierge membership on BillO'Reilly.com. If you join, and we kept the price low, and you get a free copy of Killing the Witches if you sign up, you have a special email to get to me personally. I have a staff that goes through. We don't want any loons, and I will help you, no matter what it is. If you need more information about a certain topic, if you're in trouble in your own life, whatever it may be, that program, and there are tens of thousands of people in it, has given me the most satisfaction because I can see that I'm using my power for good. So I know that's an unusual answer, but that's where we are.
Well, it's interesting because, when you're on television, I've never been on TV, but I'm assuming it feels very one way. But what you're doing at BillO'Reilly.com, there's a lot more back and forth where you are able to communicate with the audience more than you ever have been. And certainly with the internet and your own website, BillO'Reilly.com, that does give you that opportunity. So, Bill, with a great power comes great responsibility. And it sounds like you are doing just that. Thank you very much for joining us here on WTN.
Always a pleasure, Dan. Call me anytime you need me.
All right, very good. Thank you. Bill O'Reilly. The book is called Killing the Witches, a look at the Salem witch trials. BillO'Reilly.com, more information there. And you can get that book anywhere you get fine books.